Okay, so it's been a while since I've picked up the camera and recorded pretty much anything. I noticed in the last couple videos I never said what was in the motor that we're pulling out of this, so we're gonna go over that, and we might pull the valve covers off and show you guys some of the stuff that's in this motor that I pulled out of here, and see if I can't find the cam card for it. But before we do that, I'm going to show you guys what all I've got done electrical wise and everything else. So yeah, we'll break off and I'll show you what we're doing. So since the last time you guys saw the truck, the wiring in this thing was a nightmare. And I'll give you a little backstory about my truck that I got. I actually bought this thing already, so to say, swapped. Pretty much what I mean by that is they got the motor in it, but they got it to fire, but it wouldn't stay running because they were trying to use the stock fuel pump, and they didn't really understand what they were doing wiring wise or anything like that. So whenever I got the truck, my main goal was just get it running, enjoy it for the summertime, because I got it early in the year. I wanted to enjoy it spring, summer, and then I always kind of planned to put a bigger motor in it than what it had in it. So it had the 350 that was in here in it whenever I bought it. Now it didn't have the heads or the cam or anything like that on it. That was all stuff that I did. So to get it done in time for summer, I kind of skimped on the wiring. I made it right to where it would run. It wasn't gonna catch on fire or anything like that, but I just didn't cut down the wiring harness at that time because I wanted to enjoy it for summertime. Me and my old man have trucks. He's got a old 3100 pickup that's a cruiser. He's also got a s10 Blazer that's V8 swapped, and I'm sure I'll do a couple videos on that too, and maybe a video showing the 3100, which that's probably our pride and joy of what we've built. But this thing was already swapped whenever I got it, so all this wiring has been cut down. In the last video that I shot, I told you guys I took out the stock ECU. So you don't need that for a V8 for it to run. This thing's already been converted to do the one-wire alternator, all that jazz. I mean, really, all I need is power going to the starter and ignite for the starter, and then the box, which the box is ran standalone from everything else. The only factory wiring that's remaining is for the lights and the fuel pump. So over here is the fuel pump relay. So it's an aftermarket relay I decided to get rid of. The factory one that it was running through, yes, it is fused inside, but it's also fused on the outside. So, I mean, it is what it is. And this other one's for my electric fans, which it's all wired, not from any of the factory harness or anything like that. So basically the only thing that this thing is running is the headlights, taillights, turn signals, and the heater. The radio that's in the truck, I had to completely rewire all of it. They had some aftermarket radio in there and it was a rat's nest, so I already got rid of that. But that's pretty much it. So every wire that's under the engine bay right now is in this sleeving stuff that I got off of Amazon. And it's pretty nice. It's kind of a pain to put on, but I think it looks really good. It still looks like there's a lot of wires underneath here. There is, just because of the ignition box. I made the ignition box and the fuel pump harness and the fan harness. They're all separate harnesses, so if something goes bad, I can just peel apart those harnesses instead of peeling apart a main harness to try and find something. I tried to simplify it as much as I can. But the only wires that are running through here for the main harness is just your main power wires, the wire for the starter, and the main ground wire for the fuse block that comes through the bulkhead over there. Now everything that I got rid of has been cut out of the bulkhead and depinned and everything, so that's all taken care of. It's back in there. Yeah, so we did away with a lot of stuff, but we're still going to retain a lot of the factory stuff that I'm going to use. I hope to one day put AC back on this truck. That's why all of this is still here and the box. I'd love to have AC, so if I ever wanted to do like a Rocky Mountain Drag Week or whatever, I'm not just dying inside here. And it'd just be funny to have a crappy looking truck with AC that's kind of fast. But I still have to patch the hole in the firewall, so I'm going to do that hopefully in the next couple days. And then I'm going to take the valve covers off and see if I can't find the cam card for this thing. So hopefully whenever I'm back, I'll have the cam card found for this, and I'll pull the oh shoot, just left me. I'll pull the valve covers off and I'll show you what's underneath and what springs and everything I'm running. So I'll be back. Alright, so I got the valve covers off this thing, and I guess we'll just start at the top. This is a YN Team G intake. I'm pretty sure it's the medium size that they make. It's not the lowest one, I do believe, but it is a single plane intake. And then these heads they're just eBay heads. I bought them off of eBay. They're supposed to be like the like 200 runner heads, but they showed up in Speedmaster boxes. And every part number that I look up off these heads and everything else, the only thing I can find is maybe they are actually Speedmaster heads. So I got a good deal on them. They're supposed to be 200cc runners, and they're 202 160 valves and a 64cc combustion chamber. And then on top of the heads, they are Lunati dual valve springs. I think they're like 130 pound seat pressure, and then I think they're 320 open. And then on top of those are comp, just they're cheap full roller rockers. I did have a set of, like, I think they were DNAs or Scorpions 1.5 roller rockers on here, and the rocker itself actually bent. So I switched to these comps, and I haven't had any problems out of them. The only thing I can say is they are a little noisy with a hydraulic cam, but I mean, they're going to be noisy on anything. They kind of rattle around a little bit, but the rollers are all really nice. They spin freely, and they seem like they hold adjustment really good. And then for the bottom end of this motor, it is completely stock. It is a cast crank, cast rod, cast piston, everything. It is as stock as you can get. There is nothing special in the bottom end. I did turn this thing about 6,200 every time I took it down the track, so it did really well for a stock bottom end. The camshaft that's in it is a Lunati hydraulic flat tappet, and it's a Lunati cam and lifter setup. And then these are the cam specs on it. It is a 489 and then a 505 for the lift, and they're 268 cam. That is what they call it. They call it the best 268 cam you can have. So and then it's on a 106 center line and a 110 lobe separation. Cam ran really good. It sounded good. It didn't have too aggressive of an idle. had really great street manners, and the reason I went with a Lunati over, say, like a comp is I've seen in a bunch of forums and stuff that a lot of people have been having problems with flat tappet cams and lifters from comp. They've killed lobes, they've killed lifters, but I hadn't really seen much about Lunati and anyone having problems with them. And this is the second Lunati cam that we put in one of our trucks between me and my dad, and we've never had any problems out of them. Now, the Blazer that my dad bought has a comp hydraulic flat tappet in it, and it sounds kind of mean idling, but man, it just doesn't have the pickup or just the power that the Lunatis have made, that we've come to find out. I'm not hating on comp or anything, but that's one of the reasons why in the new motor I went with a Howard's cam rather than a comp, because even the comp roller lifters people have been having problems with. I know that, like, the Old Man's Garage or whatever, if you watch his channel, he's had some problems with comp roller lifters in his Malibu, and they're even the link bar style lifters. So that's one of the reasons I went with a Howard's and didn't go with a comp. I like a lot of the profiles that comp's putting out. Howard doesn't have as many to choose from. I know you can special order some stuff, but I don't think Howard's would really be into just remaking a comp cam, if you want to know the truth. But this is the motor that was in this thing that made it run. It ran a 1289 at 112. So didn't have much down low, but it back halved really well. The truck's got 373 gears in it with a turbo 400 or a turbo 350 transmission and a Hughes 3500 stall converter. The 60 foots weren't very good. This thing didn't make much low end with the single plane intake, but I bought the heads and the intake and everything for later on down the road, which is now with the bigger cubic inch, where it'll actually be better. This thing probably would have went quite a bit faster with just like an air gap dual plane intake from Metalbrock or something like that. But I got the Team G really cheap. Luckily, the Team G lines up really well with these ports, so I'm happy with that. And I think it should be a great combination for the 383. Now, on top of this thing, I kind of have a weird carburetor setup. So this is what used to be an FST 750, and this is just their cast carburetors. They're really nice. The only thing that sucks is you have to buy their fuel rail for their carburetors because their bowls are so much bigger than like a standard style Holley. So I just did the cheap thing, put a piece of hose in my rail that I had from my Holley, and so on. Now, this carburetor did have a choke horn on it with a choke, which it was just a mechanical choke, but I bought a Proform 750 just main body for it and put that in there, and it seems like it's really reacted good. I kept all of my same jetting and everything, and it seemed pretty spot on. I haven't had any problems with it. The FSTs are cheaper carburetors. I mean, if you're on a budget, it's about the only way to go, especially if you just want to do it. Even with buying the main body, it's still cheaper than any Holley or any quick fuel that you can get into, and you're basically getting the same thing. I mean, it has all the same adjustments as a quick fuel, and yeah, I haven't had any problems out of mine. Maybe later on down the road with the new cubic inch I might need a bigger carburetor. I doubt it. This one flows really, really good, but I don't know, we'll see. But this is the setup that I had in the truck itself to make it run a 12. So it's real basic, it's real cheap to do. These trucks don't weigh that much. And I said in the first video that this is full budget, and it's about as budget as you can get. I mean, I'm even running a Summit, you know, CDI box, basically is what it is. Instead of an MSD like 6AL the 6L2s or 6AL2s or whatever they are. I'm even running the Summit box, and if you do a little research on the Summit box, it's literally just an MSD Street Fire. If you pull that box apart, it has an MSD Street Fire ignition box, like board for the MSD Street Fire boxes. It has the same board. So that box tells me that it's made by MSD, which is fine. And then I have a buddy that has a MSD distributor, and this is actually just the Summit distributor. So this is the distributor if you buy the kit. I mean, I chose the one that has the vacuum canister on the side. They send you all the stuff to convert it over to where you don't use the vacuum. I haven't been using the vacuum on this thing. I've just been using the mechanical advance in it, and I'm gonna pull that pod off while I have the distributor out and I got the motor out and everything. So I'm gonna do that too. But we're getting closer to where it can maybe start going back together. I gotta plug the hole in the firewall, and then I gotta start on the cross member, which I said in the first video I was gonna cut the entire cross member out of it and plate it and put a bar in place. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. I still haven't made up my mind. I don't know. With room and everything and not having a lift, if I had a lift and stuff, yeah, I would 100% cut it all out, plate it, put a bar across, no problem. With being on a jack stands and everything, it's gonna be easier just to cut out like a 2-inch section out of it, plate it, and be done with it. I'll have enough room. I'll still have a great place to put a jack, to jack the front of this thing up. So that might be the route I'm going with. I don't know yet. Still trying to determine that. But there's still a couple things that I gotta do, and I still have to take the heads and the intake and everything off of this motor and finish the 383. So it's gonna be a little bit before I get the truck back together, but hopefully I'll be better about taking video and stuff of what I'm doing instead of just having these talking videos and explaining what I'm doing. But for right now, it's what we got, and I guess in the next one, hopefully you'll see me patch that hole and maybe start cutting on that cross member. Or I could be taking the heads off of this one and getting my motor ready to go in, and then I'll do the cross member. But probably guaranteed the next video you'll see I'll be patching that hole in the firewall. But until then, guys, I hope you're enjoying what I'm putting out. If you have any questions about doing the swap or anything I'm running on the truck, feel free to ask, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.